Now that we've finished off the legs, let's take a look at creating the terminal box design. So in this case, maybe I'll actually create the terminal group first. So I'll just go into the groups, create a new empty group in this case, and rename it, let's say terminal box. And now I'm just within that empty group, so any new shape or body that I design will automatically be placed into this terminal box group. So now what I'd like to do is I'm just going to have a terminal box coming off the top of my design here. So I kind of want an offset, say, from this face. Okay. And let's say 10 millimeters, 20 millimeters above the total design there. So one option I have to do this is maybe take a look at my existing planes. So I can go into groups, planes, and let's take a look at my plane one there. So notice that's kind of like a front plane. So what I could do is actually rotate, translate, make copies of these planes as well. So let's take a look at that. I can just go into transform, move, rotate, scale, and I can select this specific plane here, and I actually want it to now be kind of like a top plane. So I want to rotate this about the central axis, which it looks like it's already selected there. And I'm actually going to make a copy. So I'm going to rotate this something like this, and actually I want it 90 degrees. So there you go. So now you can see, hopefully I have kind of a top plane here going dead through the center of my frame design. And maybe I'll leave that top plane, so that's why I turned copy on. Because maybe I need it later on, or maybe it's just nice to have that top plane there. But then I also want one, let's say, where the top of my terminal box would be. So I can just lift this plane up now, something like this. Okay. And so let's say that's where I want the top of my terminal box to be, somewhere about there, and I'm actually going to say 100 millimeters above my main top plane there. And just tap the done check once finished. So now we have a few more planes that we can work with here, and in this case I'm going to be sketching just directly on this plane to create my terminal box. So just double tap on that upper top plane there. And the terminal box, fairly simple sketch, just going to be kind of a rectangle here. So I'll sketch out a general design, let's say something like this. And we'll say we want it 50 by 45. Okay, so the rectangle will be about 50 by 45 there. And I'll just finish this off. But then I would like to make sure that this box is kind of exactly centered about my frame here. So for one thing, maybe I can draw a line that I'll just kind of use as an axis right down my main axis there. Okay. And then I can use that to, say, throw in a constraint of symmetry between these two lines here and my center point. Okay. So now I know I'm symmetrical, but it looks like I forgot to lock in this 45 here, so I'm going to change that dimension back to be 45. Okay, and maybe lock this in to be 50 as well. Okay, so now I know I'm dead center there. And let's say I also want to maybe center this rectangle about my fin edge here as an example. So I can see that fin is 140 millimeters long, and I've seen that just at the bottom down here, or remembering in my original fin design. So let's try to center my rectangle about this fin. So the fin is 140 millimeters. We also know that the edge of my rectangle here is 50 millimeters. So 140 minus 50 would give me 90 millimeters. So I would want the total length of the start and end of my rectangle to the start and end of my fin to be 45 millimeters each. Because 45 plus 50 gives me the total of 140 millimeters. So what I can do there then, and let's just zoom in a little bit here, and let's draw a line down from, say, the start of my rectangle here, and all the way down to the start point of my fins. So something about like this. Okay. And then I want that line to be 45 millimeters in order to center my rectangle. Now what I'd like to do here first is maybe lock in this bottom point. So I'm going to lock that in and make sure it's staying on the edge of my fin there. And then I'd like to change the length here. So currently it's 35, so it's not centered. But if I were to change this to, say, 45, it should now be centered right within my fins there. So now I should be dead in the center of my fin there, as I have a 45 on either side of my rectangular sketch there. So now this should be dead centered on my design there, and dead centered on my length of my fin. So now I can just extrude this out. Maybe I'll just start by cleaning things up a little bit by hiding some of these planes. Okay, so I want to extrude it right up to this surface here. But I don't want to go too far down, and I'll go all the way through my frame. So what I can do here is be very precise and make sure I get somewhere just in the middle there where I'm not going through, or I can use subtract later on. But one thing I can also make use of here is I'll just do a little bit of an extrude here. Okay, whatever distance I'd like, let's say 10 or so, but just short of my end goal here. Now I can use a very handy tool now to extrude this all the way down to this surface here. So to do that, I can just go into my tools, and I can use the replace face command. And now I just select which faces to remove from specific bodies. So I want to remove, say, essentially push this face down and tap next into my next face that I'd like to replace with. So that would be this face here. And now you can see it kind of like a extrude up to surface or extrude up to face. And you should be able to see it kind of pushes its way down, all the way down until it hits that face. But it didn't go through at all. Yeah. So a very handy command here with my replace face tool. And once I'm happy with that, just tap the done check. So now, finally, I should have kind of a terminal box here I've created. Okay. That should be dead centered and should be extruded only up to my main surface of my frame there.